Hi everyone, TardisGuy123 here, and today I am going to be reviewing Battlefield. Battlefield, the first story of the last series of Doctor Who. Yes, season 26 was the final one where it goes out with a bang. Some will say, others will say it'll go out with a whimper. I don't know, I'm personally one of the people who think it went out with a bang. Whether this is part of that bang, I don't know, but certainly Curse of Fenric was a good one. But anyway, it's also the final appearance of Nicholas Courtney, sadly, as the Brigadier. He would go on to appear in Sarah Jane Adventures, of course, but as far as the main show is concerned, this is his finale, and it's also the first proper unit story since the Seeds of Doom, really. I mean, you sort of like had a couple of unit cameos since then, but you know, this is the last proper unit story, and well, some may argue Seeds of Doom isn't really a proper unit story because it doesn't feature any regulars whatsoever. So some people will say it's the Android Invasion that's the last one, but that doesn't feature the Brigadier. It's only got Harry and Benton. So even then, some people say Zygon, not Zygon Invasion, what am I on about? Terror of the Zygons, sorry, is the last unit story. But yeah, there's some debate about that, but you know, this is pretty much the next unit story following on from season 12, so it's been, no, season 13, sorry. So it's been quite a while, really. I mean, Unit did sort of cameo in the Five Doctors, I'm pretty sure they showed up elsewhere as well. But for the most part, this is it, really, and it's the Brigadier coming out of retirement to battle one final menace, the Knights of Camelot, or, well, not the Knights of Camelot, they're the good guys who've come, and there's only really one of them, Ancelin. So instead, you have Morgaine and Mordred coming to our world to wreak their vengeance on the Doctor before the Doctor has even done anything to them in his personal time stream. But yeah, quite an interesting premise for a story, I guess. Cover here, you have just Brigadier off to the right there, Jean Marsh as Morgaine in the middle, and you've got the Destroyer off to the left. You've got Excalibur there as well, and a couple of knights doing battle just next to the PG logo. And on the side there, you have standard stuff. Back now, we have all the special features there. It's a 2-disc release, and one of the discs features a special edition version with some extra scenes thrown in there. Not too many, I watched it, there's only like a couple that I noticed. But yeah, it was quite interesting watching it. It's more movie experience, a bit like Curse of Fenric was, although it doesn't really have as many extra scenes as the Curse of Fenric special edition did. And it's also got quite a few other special features dotted about the place as well. Opening it up now so you can see the inside, you have the disc 1 there with Morgaine on it, and disc 2 there with the Destroyer on it. And now, taking a look at the booklet, we have, I don't know really, they do sort of talk about how this is apparently the start of the Doctor, sure he's more dark and manipulative side, us not being able to trust him. Makes me wonder whether this person watched the review or not, watched the story or not, because it doesn't really show that. Not at all, really, in my opinion. I don't think it really shows it too well. I guess there are some hints, but you know, it's not nearly as big as this little Pracy bit there. If I just bring it up again, it makes it out to be. Yeah. But anyway, that more shows up in Ghostlight, really, and the Curse of Fenric. But yeah, I guess each to their own opinion, but I don't really see that coming across in this story. It very much feels like, well, I'll talk about what it feels like in a second. As I was saying, this story feels more like it belongs in season 25 in tone rather than season 26, given that the dark stories we had there with Curse of Fenric, Ghostlight and everything, that sort of returned to gothic horror style. This story doesn't really fit in with that at all. It more fits in with sort of like the action-packed stories, Silver Nemesis, and Remembrance of the Daleks of season 25 instead. Very much like I feel the Happiness Patrol more fits in with the season 24 style of tone. But anyway, you know, overall it's does still work within the context of season 26, I guess. I just feel it would have been more at home in season 25, given that season 26 did sort of have that whole Ace trilogy almost after this, where you've got Ghostlight exploring her past, and then Curse of Fenric also exploring her past, and then her return to Perivale in survival. Whereas this doesn't really do anything like that. It's more of a Doctor-based story, and the Brigadier as well. So I guess you could call it the calm before the storm and away, but there's very little that's calm about this story. Battlefield is action-packed, varies in tone a bit though, a bit all over the place at some points, kind of quirky at times, tries to be serious at others, has quite a big threat that doesn't really do too much. Yes, the Destroyer just sort of stands there really. It's brought in and towards the end of the story shatters its chains and then blows up. That's all you really have from that, and then you sort of have this bit of an anticlimax ending. After you have that massive explosion, it's just like mopping up the mess that's been left by Morgaine. So it's very much a mixed bag, this story, it really is. You have all this action going on with the knights and everything, and all these battles, and there's quite a bit going on. It's like intercut with sequences of the Brigadier in a helicopter and everything. Helicopter gets shot down, and then suddenly Morgaine's just like, oh, this is sacred ground, this is where they bury their dead. How come you didn't tell me this, Mordred? God, I've just shot someone down here. This is disrespectful. Go away, you stupid boy. Is pretty much what she says to him, and then he runs off, and yeah, it's all a bit of a mess really. Ben Aranovich, I believe he did once say in an interview, he sort of like just didn't really have much of a plan going into this one. I may be wrong. It's been quite a long time since I read that interview. But yeah, apparently he went into it the same way he went into Remembrance of the Daleks, and it didn't end up coming out with the same quality of result. I believe it was in Doctor Who magazine actually, that interview where he's talking about it. They did sort of like a whole thing about the 7th Doctor's era and Andrew Cartmell's script editing and whatnot, about last year I think it was. So yeah, look for that interview in one of them, and he does say something along the lines of what I'm saying here. But yeah, you could tell it's a bit of a jumbled mess really. You could tell it does feel like it was very much written in a hurry with not much of a plan. And you know, given that it wasn't really much of a plan, it could have turned out a lot worse really. But at the same time, it does feel like it needed a couple more drafts, like to sort the mess out a bit and get everything in the right place. But you know, the main attraction here is seeing the Brigadier alongside Ace and the 7th Doctor, and he works very well alongside Ace. I think he and Sophie Aldred have a nice bit of chemistry going on there. Obviously she doesn't trust him at first, and you know, even then there's sort of like a bit of animosity between them as to who is the Doctor's true tippity-top best friend in a lot of ways. And you know, the 7th Doctor here is wonderful as well. As I mentioned before, doesn't really have that manipulative side to him that the booklet in this seems to claim he does. He has some quite serious moments, such as when he's just like, there will be no battle here. Doesn't really do the shouty anger that well. He's much better when he's sort of doing his seething anger between his teeth. Whereas when he's shouting, he's just like, there will be no battle here. It's a bit laughable really. Sorry Sylvester, but you know, you have your strengths and you have your weaknesses there. But you know, I think the relationship between the Doctor and the Brigadier is quite nice for as long as we have it, because he's not really in the first two parts. He's like off doing his own thing for the most part. they're kept separate until they're finally brought together in part 3, where the Brigadier comes in and rescues the Doctor. And, you know, then you sort of have that end scene where the girls go off for a night, for, I don't know where they're going off to, for a drive maybe, and then just leaving the Brigadier, what's his face, Anselin, that was it, and the 7th Doctor, to have everything ready for them by the time they get back. I don't know, it's a bit of an odd ending scene. Doesn't really work in the tone of Doctor Who. This whole story is a bit tonally all over the place, really, which is a shame. And to those of you who think I am being extremely clever here by having this review seem all over the place with not much connection going on to it, to reflect this story being all over the place, you're probably reading too deep into this. I'm just not a good reviewer, I guess. But anyway, you know, it's an enjoyable story, I will say. Battlefield has its moments, it also has its bad moments. You know, as previously mentioned, the Destroyer is a very impressive creation that does nothing. It does lead to that wonderful line when the Brigadier's out of there: "Oh really, Doctor, have a little faith. Do you really think I'd be stupid enough to stay in there with that creature about to explode?" But yeah, it ties in nicely with the mythology. I think it's interesting that they're having the Doctor eventually become Merlin in sort of like an alternate reality or whatever. It's not fully explained, but I like that it's not fully explained. It doesn't need to be fully explained, really. It's sort of like hinting at off-screen adventures in the future of the Doctor. Presumably a different incarnation as well, because they do sort of talk about how he doesn't look the same as he did. So that's a little bit interesting there. Jean Marsh does a wonderful job as Morgaine, although she does have a few offlines. And there are some cringe-worthy parts as well in this story, such as Ace going boom! Not Ace going literally boom, but Ace saying the word boom in that really odd way. I believe they actually cut out of the special edition, which is nice of them, because it was quite a cringe-worthy moment, I'm not gonna lie. More the writing than Sophie Ultra's fault, maybe, or the direction. I don't know who to blame, but just not Ace's finest hour. But, you know, overall, it's a mess, but it's a somewhat enjoyable mess, I will say, and ultimately, one more story to Brigadier won't hurt anyone. And speaking of Brigadier, let's talk about Brigadier Bambara quickly. And you know, she was quite an interesting character. I think the relationship between her and Anselin was quite nice. And speaking of relationships, we finally get to see the Brigadier and Doris together. Doris, who was, I believe, was mentioned before actually, and now we finally get to see her on screen, and the actress that got to play her did quite a good job with that. And you know, I think it's quite interesting how that works and how he's sort of like brought back into the action, and how he's missed all that fun, being bossing people about and everything, being part of units. And you also get to see how much units changed really since the 70s. You know, people say sort of like classic Who was sexist and everything, but you know, you do get to see how much units changed in I think this is set in the 2000s, maybe. It is definitely set after the 80s, because it is referenced that it is in the future for Ace. So, hard to say really, but you know, you've got Bambara, a woman running unit, or at least running a section of unit, and you also got sort of like different nationalities of troopers, because it is of course the United Nations Intelligence Task Force, so you don't just have British troops in there as well. And it's quite interesting to see how much that's expanded really, and you know, this one doesn't really get enough credit for that, I don't think. So there you go, Battlefield, I've just given you some credit for that. Sadly I can't give you credit for everything. You do make a lot of mistakes along the way, so I'm going to give Battlefield 5. I'll stick with my 5 here. Some people will enjoy it a lot less. Would I recommend picking this up? No, because it's quite risky. You may like it, you may enjoy it like I do, you may not. I've heard a lot of people say they absolutely hate this one, so you might be one of those people. So don't risk picking it up immediately. I'd say if you're starting your collection at least, if you're near the end of your collection, you're filling in the gaps, then definitely pick this one up. If you're a 7th Doctor fan, if you're a Brigadier fan, it's probably worth, well, who's not a Brigadier fan, but if you're a big Brigadier fan and you want to see him alongside the 7th Doctor, then it might be worth picking this one up at some point, but not one I'd recommend prioritising. There are a lot better 7th Doctor stories out there, a lot better unit stories out there, and overall there is little left to say now except thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time with a review of the legacy of the 4th Doctor venture and a continuation of the Paradox Planet, which I reviewed last month sometime. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all then. Bye everyone.
My mother has waited 12 centuries to face you. You will bow down before her.
Do not stand against me this time, for your soul's sake.
Look to your children, Merlin, for soon they shall be no more.
Please, lie down.
Mother!
Give me Excalibur, or I will loose the Destroyer upon the world.
Nice work, Doctor.
But I thought you was bluffing.